Hello and welcome to the Three Will Podcast. This is your host, Danny Ryan, and today I have Bruce Harple here with me. Bruce is the VP of Delivery. Welcome, Bruce.
Hey, good morning, Danny.
How are things going?
Going great, man. Glad to be here.
So we're on take 2. My Mac blew up. Hopefully that will not happen again here, but if you don't mind, we're just going to go back through and redo. We're going to relive the last 10 minutes of our life.
Let's do it.
So you've got a really important topic for us to cover, which is about adoption. And really adoption is about having a successful intranet and a successful portal. Let's start off with some of the common challenges that you see out there when we are talking with customers.
Yeah, no, that's great, Danny. Yeah, I mean, we've really been doing a lot of portal work with our customers, a lot of internet portal work. Also, we do extranets where customers want to reach out to either their clients or their vendors.
Yep.
But there is a common set of challenges that we see, when customers talk about their portal failing or low adoption rate for their portal. So there's a number of challenges that are kind of common thread across many of our customers. Probably the number one challenge, the number one problem is I call it findability.
Okay.
Right. So employees are coming to the portal, they're looking for a document, a specific piece of content, and they can't find it. Right. If it's not 2 or 3 clicks away, they get frustrated and they give up. I mean, I do that when I'm on external facing sites and I'm looking for content or something and I can't find it and I get frustrated and I throw my hands up and I give up as well.
It's one of my biggest challenges. I know when I get up in the morning, I can't find my keys anywhere. Findability is a key problem.
It is a problem for sure. And some of that's just, we're this, kind of, we're all, a mad dash against time, right? And we're all looking for quick answers, quick information. And if we can't find it quickly, we move on.
Yes.
So findability is key and number one. Another one is just kind of lack of ownership, right? So it's lack of an executive owner, a champion of the portal, someone that can create the vision for the portal and ensures it really supports the needs of the business. And then really just having, content owners and providers, right? So if your content isn't current, it's not fresh, and there's people that aren't kind of taking ownership of that, then it becomes stale and irrelevant, and people won't use it. So, that ownership is another, key issue and problem we see out there.
And on the organizations who are doing this really well, they sort of see their intranets and extranets as a key way of their communicating their brand, and also a key way of communicating what their culture is as well. I mean, you can really look at it a couple different ways, but I mean, for us, if you have we've got a very open culture here, and so there's a lot of sharing on Yammer. There's a lot of document sharing, so it's very open, and I think it sort of speaks to, and it's probably depends on the organization, but you have different people who sort of own what the intranet and the extranet is.
Yeah, and that's a key point, Danny, is that ownership. I mean, you obviously want that executive ownership, but you need to have that individual ownership. So everybody in the organization has to take ownership.
Yeah. Because
it is the whole organization owns the content in that portal, and everybody's got to be willing to contribute to it. And obviously everybody wants to consume, but everybody's got knowledge to share. Everybody's got information that could value other parts of the organization, other parts of their teams.
Great. What's the next challenge?
So the next one, I kind of group these two things together. It's kind of relevance and reliability, right? So that's just saying that if you're not constantly looking at your intranet, your portal, if the information and content out there is not current, if it's not relevant to what I do, so if that content's not helping me sell products or services to my customers, if it's not helping me deliver products and services to my customers, it's just not going to provide the same level of value to me, right? So it's got to be relevant to what I do. It's got to be relevant to how I am delivering goods and services to my customers, and it's got to be reliable. So if content becomes old, stale, outdated, or if that content is in 5 different places in your portal and that content's different in all 5 of those places, how do you know which content, how do I know which document is the document that I should really rely on? So that is a huge problem, is that relevance and then reliability, making sure that I trust what's out there. Because if your organization doesn't trust the content, they're not going to go use it.
And this is where it leads to, and I know I sometimes fall into this pattern, which is if you're not sure, then you start emailing the document around. And then really, then you really get out of whack because the latest version of the doc is in somebody's email, and you have to have the discipline to keep pointing people back to the intranet and saying this is the record of source. This is where you want to go to for the latest version.
Absolutely, yeah. And some of that kind of goes to my next challenge. It's the one thing that I think a lot of people overlook, and that's just understanding your culture. Mm-hmm. How does your culture collaborate? Mm-hmm. How do they share information? How do they share knowledge? Because that's huge, and really trying to understand. Internet portals today have a lot of capabilities.
Yes.
But you got to understand, of all those capabilities, which of those really map best to the culture of your company and what people are willing to do. Mm-hmm. Do you have a social culture? Are they the Twitter generation? Mm-hmm. Are they into news feeds and activity feeds and things like that? So understanding your culture, and then if there's things you want to move them towards, you got to understand, how do I do that incrementally and take small steps towards changing that culture to be a more collaborative type culture.
Yeah, and some of these larger companies, they've got multiple generations, right? They've got folks who are the older generation that might are used to picking up the phone to collaborate, and then you've got, I think I'm part of the email generation. I don't know if I want to call myself that. But everything's done through email because I have a track of, I know what was said and all that good stuff. And, I've got my outbox and ways of managing what commitments I've made and all that good stuff. And then you've got the activity feed driven younger kids, mm-hmm. little younger punks that are so sort of disrupt driven. Whatever's the latest thing is the latest thing, and that's what I'm working on. And it's very, interrupt driven.
Absolutely. And then the next challenge I'll talk about is I call it governance, right? So, I'm always amazed at how many customers don't have a governance plan in place around their portal. It really kind of governs. How do we provision content into that portal? How do we use that portal to support our business? Mm-hmm. And it's key, right? Because the good news about a lot of these portals in today's world is it's very easy to add content. And you kind of, it's easy to get to that wild, wild west mentality, where there's community sites, project sites, department sites, set up all over the place, and they've all got their own unique kind of look, feel, brand. So instead of having a company kind of look, feel, brand, and way to find information, it becomes very, functionally departmentalized, or and some of that freedom you want to allow, but. You really need to have that governance planning in place, because that's going to drive that findability, that relevance, and reliability aspect of this. The last challenge and thing to talk about is just kind of, I call it inspection and adaption. One of the things that we see with portals and intranets today is that people build them, they get them populated, they get content out there, and then there's no kind of ongoing care and feeding, and there's no kind of assessment of what kind of usage is occurring on the portal. So I kind of call that inspection and adaption. So it's that. You're
not saying that's not like the Boston version of adoption. It's that adaption.
I like that.
Okay.
I like that.
You are saying adaption.
I am saying adoption.
Adoption.
Adapt,
oh my
adapt.
goodness.
No,
you're saying adapt. Okay. Good. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, but it's really just kind of that inspection of kind of inspecting mm-hmm. usage, inspecting value, assessing that value, and then adapting the content, adapting what's out there to the business, and because businesses are going to change too. Mm-hmm. Priorities of the business are going to change, and you need to keep that content, relevant, reliable, and findable. So, those are the key challenges.
I'm going to be stuck on SharePoint adaption. So next, what do we have up next?
So really next you just talk about how can people begin to think about addressing some of these challenges that we see.
Cool. How do they do that?
So the first thing I've got is to really create a vision for your portal. And it sounds simple, but it's really important and really critical that you have that vision. I kind of think of the Stephen Covey, precept of, kind of begin with the end in mind. And it's kind of if you don't know where you're going, you can't build a roadmap to get there. So, that vision really needs to convey, kind of the overall importance and value of the portal to the business. It should be supported with some specific objectives, and really some simple metrics, that really kind of assess the value of the portal to the business. So, a lot of people, it's, kind of build it and they will come, and that typically doesn't work, in the internet business. You really need to make sure that everything you do through that portal is supporting the business somehow, is driving value to the business, is aligned with the business. And that vision should support that. And every time you do something to that portal, you should really look at that vision, stuck on your wall and say, am I supporting the vision? Is this supporting the end state of where I want to get to with my portal?
Very nice.
So, that's the first thing kind of in addressing some of these challenges. And the other is just overall ownership, right, of the portal. And I think there's two parts to that, right? Some of it is having that executive level, champion or owner of the portal. I think that's key, because you're going to look to that person to make sure that that portal is aligned to the business, like I talked about with the vision. Are we really aligning the usage of this portal, what we're trying to accomplish with it? Does that support the business? Is it meeting the needs of the business? This needs to be someone that's really passionate about kind of capturing and sharing the IP of your organization, and really passionate about driving that culture of collaboration. Because to me, that's what a portal is all about, right? It's about establishing that culture of collaboration, sharing knowledge, sharing experience, and just trying to look for how can we better deliver, sell and deliver, to our customers.
I look at us and sort of the reason why I think we do a lot of collaboration here at Three Will is because Tommy does a lot of it's from the top. He does, and we do have some. We've got lots of clients that we end up finding out that the CEO is involved in this because of the really the communication aspect of this. So if I'm going to get my organization to work together, we all have to be on the same page.
Yep, absolutely. And then the other aspects of ownership are, finding those kind of, content providers, right? Because there's, with any portal, there's content providers, content consumers, right? So everybody wants to consume content. It's always hard to get people to provide content, right? Some of that ties back to culture, which we'll talk about later. But, really, I think it is important at some level to identify those, content providers, right? Those content owners who can be responsible and held accountable for keeping content fresh and relevant. And some of it too is driving down to individual ownership, right? I mean, everybody wants to consume content, but I think organizations have to look for how do we motivate, how do we incent individuals to provide their content, their knowledge, their IP, as it relates to how we sell to our customers, how we deliver to our customers.
Nice.
So you got to figure out how to kind of get that down to the individual level to where there's individual ownership and people want to contribute and people feel good about doing that.
Great.
So, and so kind of creating that vision, definitely that ownership, those kind of, that applies across all those challenges.
What's up next?
The next thing I want to talk about was that concept of findability.
Okay.
Right. So how do I, enable, people to quickly come in and find the content they're looking for, find the information they're looking for. Right. And so there's several pieces to that. So, one is just looking at, what we call the information architecture, right? So how do you structure all that content on your portal, and how do you navigate that portal, right? So there's a couple ways people come into portals to look for content. One is through navigation, right? Through hitting links on pages, and the other is then through search, right? So those are the two key things, right? Is that site structure, that information architecture, and then search. And then, kind of really associated with search, we think it's really important that you develop that corporate taxonomy. And a corporate taxonomy is it's how you describe, the things that are important to you, right? It's tagging, right? It's the metadata. So how do I describe a document that I upload? How do I describe a video that I'm going to put on my portal, so that then, that metadata can be used, in searching for that content, helping people to find that content. And that overall search experience is so critical, right? Because that's the way that most people are going to find that content through that search bar. Like any website you go to, whether it's public facing, internal facing, the first thing you're looking for is that little magnifying glass, and you're going to key in, what you think in your mind you're looking for, and that's how you're going to try to find that data.
And we've been so trained by free text search, the Google search of just, and then your expectations are so high of that, I think, on the public internet, that you expect the same type of experience internally as well.
And you absolutely should have the same experience, right? So that Google search experience that you have, on the external facing world or on public websites, you should have that same experience, inside your intranet portal.
So our solution is to put a Google device inside their organization? Is that what we're proposing here?
Yeah, and I list down here, there's several things, right? And I'm just going to rattle these things off. There's a lot behind them, but the kind of things you look for, establishing, as part of your search experience are, search verticals. So how do I verticalize the content in search? I can search everything. I can search people. I can search for specific types of content. There's search refiners. So when a search result comes up, how can I refine that search? By document type, by person, by date, by one of those metadata tags that I talked about. And there's different ways to present search results, right? So you might want to present, a people search result in a way that if I, mouse over that person, their profile pops up in a little,
or a little animated GIF where they're dancing or something like that. A little animated
GIF where they're dancing, nice. Whatever the avatar they have.
That's the kind of intranet I want.
Or like for the video, if I mouse over a video,
play.
I want to see the video, kind of playing for me. So,
nice.
That's important. So then things like, what you expect, with any kind of search engine is, being able to influence search relevance, search suggestions, best bets. So all those things are so important. And I have this throughout this whole thing. The other thing with search is that inspection and adaptation, right? So somebody needs to be paying attention to how are people searching. And with that, you can begin to tune your search experience, right, for your organization. So you can't just expect it to always work and always get better. You've got to manage that, right? You got to inspect what people are doing.
I actually track on our public site. I track what people are searching for, so it gives me good input for maybe I need to change something in the menu structure or something along those lines. So,
yeah, exactly.
Nice. What's next?
So next again is kind of relevance and reliability, right? I kind of group those two things together. And some of that is around reviewing metrics, right? It kind of goes back to, again, I'm going to use those words, inspect and adapt. It's really kind of looking at metrics, looking at Google Analytics if you have that wired into your site, which we'd recommend. Looking at site analytics, search analytics, content aging. It's all those things. So really, it's paying attention, to what's out there, how relevant it is, how current it is, and making those adjustments. I think the other thing is looking at ways to leverage, kind of site and or page templates. So that as people create new team sites, new project sites, new community sites, new department sites, there's a template that's being followed. So there's a consistency, right?
Yep.
So as people navigate through that portal, they're not going to some team site, some project site, and trying to figure out where content is stored and how it's organized, right? You got a consistent way that you can apply a template to every different type of site you might provision inside a portal. And then the other thing I kind of call out just kind of under relevance and reliability is, I'm just saying conduct an annual portal retrospective, right? So that means just kind of once a year, sit down and really kind of revisit your vision, revisit your objectives, because the business has changed. And then, we do retrospectives on projects, and we ask 3 questions. What should I continue doing? What should I start doing? And what should I stop doing? And I think that applies to an intranet portal or an extranet portal. Once a year, you should stop and ask those 3 questions about that portal. and again fine tune what's happening with that portal.
Nice. I like it. It's almost, when you were talking about that, I was thinking that wouldn't it be nice if we went around to our clients and did an annual. But I mean,
there you have new service opportunity right there, Danny.
That's just what we need, is another service opportunity.
There you have it.
All right, let's bring me to the finish line here. We got a couple more left,
right?
A
couple more things. So let's talk a little bit more about culture, right? So, again, I just think it's so critical to really understand your company culture, your organizational culture, especially as it relates to collaboration, communication, and knowledge sharing. And ask yourself, do I have a social culture? Will they participate in activity feeds, discussions, news feeds? Are they
nude feeds?
News feeds. That would be a good one.
I'll leave that one alone. Next, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, and some people have fun with that, right?
Yeah.
So
I'm sure some people do. I'm sorry. Go ahead. No.
An example is there was a CEO who had like a news feed of his own, like a blog post, right?
Uh-huh.
And occasionally, just to see if people were paying attention and engaging with him, he would put a post out early in the morning and say, the first person that responds to my post, I got
gets a raise.
Gets a raise. Exactly. But they would do things like have a gift card, right?
Yeah,
so you get a $50 gift card. First person that responds to my post,
yep,
I got a gift card sitting there for you.
Engagement fires up.
So you can have fun with it too,
absolutely.
right? As it relates to the social aspects of it.
Yeah.
But you just need to really think about how do people share documents? How do they collaborate around documents? I mean, is that part of your business model? Mm-hmm. And really try to understand how do project teams interact and engage. How do they work together? Do they collaborate around a project site of some kind, a group of some kind, and what are they willing to do? What are they willing to share? So, I think so. You really have to end up kind of mapping your culture, right, to the capabilities of your portal, especially as it relates to social features, document sharing, document collaboration, notifications, alerts, those kind of things. What will your culture accept? What fits that culture?
And then everybody's favorite subject.
Everybody's favorite subject. Governance, man.
Don't you use that word around me. Don't you point that word at me.
And to me it's simple, right? I just have develop a governance plan. You need to have one, right? And identify ownership, assign accountability. And again, I got the inspect and adapt here with this one. It's like governance, you need to look at your governance plan once a year. You've got to pay attention to that, because governance will drive, it should drive that inspection, that adaptation. It should drive some accountability for, how the sites, how your portal is governed, how it's, kind of kept current, kept relevant, etc.
And if you don't have one, we have templates, right?
We have templates, yes. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And the last thing, Danny, is just to make it fun and engaging. It's got to be engaging. It's got to be fun. And you can do that. I've seen a lot of customers have fun with their portals and make it fun, make it engaging. And it doesn't take a lot to do that. And then you have CEOs that make it fun and engaging too, in the way that they kind of engage with their team. So that's it.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for taking the time to share this. I know this is really important. It's just great you're on so many different projects and working with so many new clients and prospects that I really appreciate your input on what you're seeing out there. So thank you for taking the time to do this, Bruce.
Absolutely. We have a lot of passion around building portals that are successful, right? And to us, success, it's the adoption. It's portals that are really used and where organizations are getting value out of those portals. That's so critical, and a key part of what we do as we work with clients on their portals is really trying to make sure that we're looking at these challenges and addressing them, and that they're partnering with us to help us do that.
That's great. Thanks so much, everybody, for taking the time to listen, and have a wonderful day. Thank you. Bye-bye.